George Kilpatrick, inspiration for the nation, celebrating people we feel good about. America's favorite psychiatrist is with us. Dr. Ish is in the house. I'm always happy to see this brother show up on the show. He's been a mentor, a friend, and really enjoy this brother. Host of WeTV's Marriage Boot Camp, and a best-selling author. He's got books. He's on all the shows. He is one of my good friends. Dr. Ish Major is in the house. So we got a lot to talk about, right?
All right, my brother. Let's catch up.
Kanye, you got books out. You've got all this kind of stuff. Let's talk about it. But I want to start with this because I teased this a little bit. Dr. Ish, recently I identified this trait that I want to understand about myself. Can I be vulnerable? Because this is something that brothers have trouble. So that's what I was saying. I was like, I don't even know how to say it. I have trouble admitting this thing.
Okay? Right. I struggle with this. Yeah.
I struggle with this thing.
This is a safe space.
Yes.
To be vulnerable, brother.
Yes. So I struggle with it, like if you and I are having a conversation and I know I don't want that or it's not, I don't feel like in my spirit it's good for me, but I still like parts of it. Right. I have difficulty saying no. Like your boy has difficulty saying no, and that also includes allowing marginal people. What I mean by marginal people that aren't all the way. Like I have degrees. Like I was laughing with my family because they're pretty clear. You are cut off. Whereas I'm like, well, I don't like 78% of you, but 28% I could deal with. So we all right.
Right. Yeah.
Right. I'll do a degree of like. Yeah. And so this I wanted to start with that before we get into like Kanye and Kyrie and the books and all that. This idea of how to say no, even to things that appear to be good or sound good, but this ain't the time, and you just need to say no. Yeah. And then not feel any kind of way about that, like you're missing out on something for not saying no. Can you relate to that, my brother?
Listen, man, I see that every single morning when I wake up in the mirror because I am a card-carrying board member of the people-pleasing corporation, right? And so saying no, I struggle with it, man. It's hard for me to say no, even as a little kid. My mom used to say, hey, I just want my sons to grow up to be nice guys. And I worked out in my head, okay, so that means that, right? I worked out in my head that maybe letting people down or having to tell people no some way makes me a not nice guy. So maybe that means I'm letting my mom, right? All these things, right? And none of it's true. None of it's true. No is a complete sentence. Doesn't require any further explanation. Doesn't require any consternation. You don't have to say it in an angry way. You don't have to say it in a curt or abrupt way, right? You can say it with a smile on your face. Oh no, I can't do that, right? And I have a personal coach, and this is something we have talked about over and over again. And she's like, here's a great way to say it. Love you. That doesn't work for me. Love you. Love you. Love that idea. Don't think that works for me right now, right? Let's circle back on a later time, right? Because sometimes my mom used to say, son, you never get where you want to go all at once. You're going to get there by degrees. So maybe let's give you a way to get to that no by a degree, right? Maybe it's not a hard, fast no, and we're done with it. Maybe it's simply a no for now, right? Oh, you know what, man? That idea actually sounds really cool. I don't think it works for me right now, but I would love to circle back on that with you, right? That feels better.
It does feel better.
Right? It's still a no, right? You still set the boundary, and it gives you the option of going there again later on. But you can so you can start with that. Love the idea, love you. Doesn't work for me right now, but let's circle back on it. That's still a no.
And how does that show up in relationships? Because I know a lot. Let's get right to it, right? Because let's get right to how does that show up in relationships? Let's talk about relationships that you're in where you needed to say no, and now you're so deep into it that you don't know how to say no to get out of it because you keep telling yourselves, and I was thinking to somebody I care about, thinking that there's other reasons why you should stay in it, even though your heart, your mind, your body, your soul is saying no.
Right. So we talk about boundaries, right?
Yeah.
Right. If you can't say no in your relationships, then you're not setting boundaries well. So you're agreeing to do things that maybe you don't want to do. Right. You're agreeing to show up in a way that's not fully you. Right. And so you're sacrificing parts of yourself to be in this relationship. Right. You're compromising parts of yourself. You're diminishing parts of yourself. And that doesn't feel good. Right. It helps me feel bad. And over time, if I'm agreeing to do things that I know don't align with who I am, I'm actually going to get resentful over that, right? Because wait, you wanted to be, I thought we were just dating, but you said now you want to be exclusive. I don't really want to be exclusive, but I don't know how to tell you no. So I'll show up and try to be your boyfriend, even though I don't really kind of want to. And over time, I'm going to start resenting that because it's not something I really consented to. I just felt bullied into it. And it's on me because I didn't know how to say no. So when you can't set those boundaries, man, and you stretch yourself more and more thin in this relationship, I agreed to do this, I couldn't not agree to do that. It's exhausting, right? And it shows up emotionally because you get angry, you get resentful, right? And you get spiteful, and it comes out in ways you can't control. And so again, you can say it with a smile on your face. Love you. Don't think that works for me. Dinner on Friday at 8? No, I would love to, but yeah, I can't make that work. What about Saturday at 6, right?
So how about then when the toxicity, how do you say no to the toxicity that's built up then? Because now I'm already in it.
Right.
I know I need to say no to it going any further, but I'm so caught up in the web of all of the reasons why I think I should stay in this thing when I really need to say no to this thing.
You need to say no to the person or to the relationship itself.
It could be all of the above. It could be all of the above. I'm actually thinking about specifically when I know it's not good for me, I know I shouldn't be doing it, and I can't figure out a way out of it. And so I've said, so that's how I'm thinking about it. Like,
careful with that phraseology, because in psychiatry, when people think they're doing the thing that they shouldn't be doing, it really feels like we're doing the things we want to do. So is it right? Who says I shouldn't be doing this? Right? Is that some limitation you're imposing on yourself? So you gotta be honest about that part. Number one.
Okay. So let me take it a step further. I voiced that I don't want to do it.
Okay.
But I can't figure out how not to be doing it. But then you're saying,
got it.
You really want this. Like, you got to ask yourself that.
You got to ask yourself that. And here's the thing, right? I love this. There's a book out there called Radical Acceptance, right? Just by accepting who you are, right? Mm-hmm. And learning to love yourself unconditionally, right? The good stuff, and then the stuff you still got to work on. So that's the conversation you can go back and realize. You can say, hey, you know what? This ain't on you. This is on me. I have a problem saying no. And back when we talked about this thing and I agreed to do it, I said yes, but inside I really meant to say no. And I gotta be honest with you, it's been messing with me ever since. And I know it's messing with our thing, right? And so I'm trying to right that wrong now by telling you how I feel about it, right? And now you can have that conversation because you're taking full ownership of it.
I'm going to go back to something you said. We're talking with Dr. Ish Major, America's favorite psychiatrist. Doc, you said, I'm working with a personal coach, yet you're a psychiatrist. Oh, yeah. And so I'm trying to really put those things together, because a lot of people would say, well, you're giving everybody advice. Why you need advice? Take your own advice. And you would say?
I would say the man or woman or person who takes their own advice is taking advice from an idiot. Right? Because I can't see me like you see me.
Okay.
Right? Sometimes we need the outside to know the inside a little bit better, because we all have these things that we're pretending not to know about ourselves. Right? It's easy for me to see your patterns because I'm not emotionally connected to it. I was like, well, George, this is the thing you did in Christmas 2016. You did the same thing on 4th of July 2019, and now here 2022, you're showing up doing the same thing. That's a pattern. I can pick that out, right? And I can see it, look at it very objectively. I can flip it around 3D and say, oh, you just need to do this, this, and this, and it'll be all cool moving forward. But for me, I'm emotionally tied to it, right? It's me. It's who I am. It's the way I've done things. And I don't want to have to feel bad about the way I've done things because I don't want to feel bad about me. So you need that. I have a personal coach and I have a therapist, and they are both on speed dial.
I heard that, brother.
Because I want to feel good. And I'm not here to shame myself into feeling bad. And I'm not going to put the way I feel in a little corner and just hope it's going to get better by scrolling on somebody's Instagram feed and maybe I'll read something that helps me feel. No, that ain't how it works. You got to do the work. As providers and psychiatrists and therapists, we talk about, you've got to do the work. And to do that, you need somebody else to help you. Some lady asked me on Instagram the other day, she was like, hey, can I get better with, just doing it myself and reading self-help books? I said, yeah, you can definitely get some better. But if you want to get all the way better, right, you've got to risk it, and you've got to be vulnerable in front of somebody else, because they're going to be able to point things out for you, right, on that you're not going to be able to point out to yourself in a much more abbreviated period of time.
So we've got some stuff going on in the country. Before we, we're talking Dr. Ish Major. So that led me to think about, let me just follow my heart here, because my heart is taking me to men, intimacy, and vulnerability, and how we're showing up, and how we pose, how we wear the mask, and all of that, and being comfortable enough to say, like you said, I got my therapist, I got my coach on speed dial, because only, what is that saying? Only an idiot, what?
Right. If you're taking advice from yourself, you're taking advice from an idiot.
So
right? I think Confucius said you're taking advice from a fool. You just, right? It's just, there's only so far you're going to be able to go.
So how do you counteract the narrative? Man, you soft. You can't handle your own stuff. Man, back in the day, you're not mentally strong enough, because and I want to translate that into what we're seeing happen in the community, around some of the recent, Takeoff was shot in Houston. We don't know why or who. There's rumors about what actually happened. Member of the Migos group, another rapper, a couple of, so we've lost a couple of rappers. Who was it? Lakeith Stanfield put out, he's basically putting out a plea against what he calls the toxicity of rap music. Not his words, I'm paraphrasing. Basically, he's saying, if you listen to gangster rap, then you're not Black. Essentially paraphrasing what he said. And so that's leading me down this conversation around unaddressed trauma within our Black males in the community, and how to understand all of that. So if you followed this train that I just took you on, men, vulnerability, USOF, and then the trauma and how this is showing up in our community, what do you think? What's your thinking about that?
It's hard, right? Because when we talk about Black men and vulnerability, we can't talk about that in a vacuum, right? It's impossible for us to talk about you and me being vulnerable today in 2022 without taking into consideration what our foreparents went through in 1822.
Yes.
And 1922, right? It's
historical trauma. Yes.
Right. Historical trauma, generational trauma, those defense mechanisms that were passed down to us by them because they just needed to get through the next day and the next week and feel as little shame and as little fear as possible. So we got to take all of that into consideration. But all that to say, right, one of the cool things about where we are today and about millennials, and they're in the moment and they want to live our best life right now. And so if that's what you're trying to do, then it's okay to start having that conversation about vulnerability and about what true intimacy means for you, right? It's so, I put out a post the other day. Hey, you know what? Men get lonely too. Men crave intimacy too. In parentheses, not sex, intimacy, right? Sometimes, George, we want to be the little spoon, right? Sometimes we want to be.
Oh, okay. He's gonna do that.
Right?
He's doing that. Okay.
Right? I'm going there. Sometimes I just need a hug because it's been a rough week. And it's been a rough week while being Black and while being a man. And I'm tired and I'm a little bit aggravated and I'm a little bit scared because I don't know how things are going to work out. You know what I mean? And I want to make sure I'm showing up for you and can help take care of us. But I just don't know right now. So what I really need more than anything, right? I don't need you to cook me nothing. I don't need you to clean nothing for me. I don't need you to wash them. I ain't no clothes for me. You know what? I just need you to hold me and tell me you believed in me. How about that? Right? That's intimacy.
That is intimacy. And that's probably the most difficult thing for a man to say.
Extraordinarily difficult for a man to say. Damn near impossible for a Black man to say because we don't create a space that allows us to say it, right? As Black folks, right? So when we talk about rap, we talk about our lives as entertainers, right? The things that we get noticed for. You would think we live these very extreme lives with very few boundaries and very few limits. Well, folks, but what we and you know, what you and I know is that Black folks in America are some of the most conservative people on the planet.
Yeah.
Right? When it comes to religion, when it comes to sexuality, when it comes to all of these things. And so we have some very, very traditional, dare I say, antiquated views of what it means to be a man and what it means to be a woman, right? We have some very old school ideas of femininity and masculinity, right? You got to be a big, strong, tough man and not let it hurt and not let it and not feel it and not show it because otherwise you soft. Oh, man,
otherwise, right.
Well, what you talking about? You did what, man? We don't want to hear about that. Let's go ahead and get some numbers, get some Instagram, have some drinks, and forget about it, move forward. But realize we're hurting on the inside, you know?
I heard a woman say about somebody she was dating, she's no longer dating them, that she thought he was too emotional. Right. And not in the way of, not in a violent way, but like was too needy emotionally. And that was, she couldn't deal with that.
Right. Yep. And so great. So good for her. You recognize that he wasn't your dude, right? So go find one who's more on your wavelength, right? Because he's at a different place on his journey. It's like between a journey and adventure, right? He's on his emotional journey and you're on yours. Now, if you want to share this adventure together, you can. But once you realize he's not your guy and he's thinking the same thing, she's not my woman, then you don't have to share that adventure together. And you can go on about your journey separately. So you know what I mean? But yeah, we don't, right? They don't allow they don't allow that from us, right? They want us to be strong and jump high and run fast and rap loud, right? Or you know what I mean? Or whatever that is. But when it comes to us being a whole person, nobody really wants to know about that part, right?
No. Wow. And you connected that piece around the trauma and who we are and how because I'm seeing a lot of pain showing up in our communities, like, random, you're seeing random stuff happening on the subways and things of that nature in New York City and then other communities.
We're at the end of our emotional rope. We don't have any more emotional bandwidth, right? There's an empathy epidemic in this country. There's an empathy epidemic in our community. It's not because we're bad people. It's just because we are emotionally exhausted. Just showing up, trying to take care of ourselves and get our needs met on a day-to-day basis. We just don't have enough bandwidth. I can't meet my needs and help George meet his. I don't have that. I don't have that extra thing today. And when I don't have it, it makes me show up as uncaring. What we call in psychiatry, we have very poor frustration tolerance. So every little thing sets us off when everybody's living right there on the edge, man. That's why we're seeing all these violent things happening,
So couple of things. Kanye is in the news. He's doubled down.
Mama name him Kanye. I'm gonna call him Kanye.
All right, Kanye. All right. So Kanye West said a lot of things. So two Black men, very prominent in their industries, have been accused of anti-Semitism. Kanye West for what he said, the words out of his mouth, the words out of his mouth, and then Kyrie Irving with the Brooklyn Nets, sending a link to a movie on Amazon called From Hebrews to Negroes. In that, I haven't seen the movie, and I don't know if the people have seen it as well, but they have some of the frames that they're promoting in the movie about something about the Holocaust being like Holocaust deniers and things of that nature. And so this week,
who Jewish people worship, who they
who they worship, all of that,
all
right?
kinds of foolishness, yeah.
Right. So the two of them, right, very prominent. And so with Kanye, they just announced that he and the Nets are donating $500,000 to the Anti-Defamation League, and he maintains he has not directly apologized yet, at least at the time of this conversation. And Kanye has now began to reach out to the Black community because he had the White Lives Matter T-shirt on with his girl Candace Owens, and so as a psychiatrist in this community, how do you make sense of either of those things, my brother?
It's funny how losing $1.5 billion can make you reach back out to your people.
Okay. And somebody
funny
started
how that works
me for him or something.
Right. Funny how that works. So first of all, Kanye said the words out of his own mouth.
Right.
Kyrie was a little more cowardly in just retweeting the link and hiding behind that. So, I think when I think about it, right, Kanye, yes, right. You're married to a woman who's not Black, and your kids are biracial. So of course, white lives matter to you, and all other lives matter to you, as they should, right? And that's totally okay. I think as Black people, we've been so traditionally forgotten and invisible and unseen and unheard and ununderstood that a lot of us today feel like there's no room for anything else, right? If you are not all Black 100% all the time, then you can't possibly be for me. But Kanye's allowed, right? He's allowed that. Now, he could have took a much softer approach, a much more smart approach to it, and a much more intelligent approach about when it comes to us. Certainly the ridiculousness he's spewing about Jewish people is ridiculous. But here's what I said about him and Kyrie. We have got to be careful, because just because someone was born with a gift and that gift has made them a ton of money, right, and has afforded them a whole new lifestyle,
right,
that does not qualify them to tell us how to live our life in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
Kyrie is good at basketball, right? No, that don't mean, and he's made a great living, but we assume, okay, there must be something special and different about them because they're living a different life, a life that I want. So I want to know all of those things. No, that don't qualify him to tell you about religion or about biology or what you should or should not put in your body in terms of a vaccine. He ain't qualified to tell you none of that. If you want to listen to him about how to come off a pick and roll all day long, right? Right. Listen to him, right? Kanye ain't qualified to tell you none of this about religion or about life and who you should love and who you can't. He knows what works in his life, but because he's made a boat ton of money off of his gift, that we somehow think that qualifies them to tell us, and we should believe them and follow. No, you actually shouldn't, right? And so that part's on us. You know what I mean? For us to be much more critical of who we're going to look up to and why, right? What else have they done in their life other than make a bunch of money doing the one thing that qualifies them to be your guru, to be your life leader, right? We've got to take ownership for that. You know what I mean? We just have to. And Kanye, look, he admitted it. Well, I'm not spilling any secrets. Kanye's got bipolar disorder, and he's clearly unmedicated. Clearly, yeah. So he's doing impulsive things. Here's the thing I can tell you about bipolar disorder, George. It is a chronic and progressive mental illness. That means no matter what you do, no matter how faithful you are in taking your medications and doing your therapy, year after year, it's going to get worse, right? We can clearly see Kanye has not been taking his medications consistently. He has not been in treatment consistently. He's done super impulsive things that looks like he was manic, and he's impulsive over here, and now it's coming over and spilling back and affecting his life there. And that's usually when they come back into treatment, when they got arrested, when they had a big loss, when they did something that they can't take back and now it's disrupting their life. And now they're like, maybe I should, right? Because he's a creative personality, he's a creative brain. And when they take medications for bipolar disorder, mood stabilizers, it kind of feels like it puts some of that creative fire out. So that's why they don't like taking it. It's probably why Kanye doesn't like taking it. But you've got to be able to find that balance. Hey, can I get enough mood stabilizer on board where I can still be creative, but not get out here in these streets and do things that are going to burn my life down?
Clearly not. Yeah, clearly not, because he's out there.
Clearly not.
All right. Some we're gonna go through the lightning round. Number one, what's going on with your boy Nick Cannon? That's your boy.
No man. Yeah.
He's expecting another child, number 11, with it's his second with a model, Alyssa Scott. They lost the baby, as you know.
They lost the baby. It was tragic. Yeah.
Yeah. So number 11. I know. So what you got to say about your boy?
Look, man, Nick's got a lot of love to give. You know what I mean? He does. And here's the thing about Nick now, right? So number 11, I think it's 10 or 11 is coming.
This is number 11.
Okay. Where he finds the time to spend with all of his kids, because he does, right? And when you talk to him in life, and he knows what's going on with all of his kids. He ain't missing no birthdays. He ain't missing no special occasions, right? I don't know. He found a way to get 36 hours out of the 24 you and I got, because he shows up there and he's supporting folks, right? Emotionally, financially, right? He's a good dad. He's a good dude. He's a good dad. And so everybody's on their journey. That may not work for you or me, right? But for him, it works in his life, and it gives him, it helps him feel that source of pride as a father, that unconditional love from your kids, and watching their lives grow. Now, here's the other thing I'll tell you about Nick, about me. We got a secret coming for you. We got something coming for y'all.
Okay.
Can't announce it yet, but we got a project coming. We should be able to make an announcement very, very soon. I think you're gonna love it.
All right, you and your boy Nick. You collaborated with Charlamagne the God, in his book called Shook One, and it was about anxiety. And I didn't know that. So I know he shouted you out on the podcast.
Yeah. So Charlamagne, man, one of my favorite people in the world. Just just a good dude, and he has led the way when it comes to Black men being able to have uncomfortable conversations.
Is it that South Carolina connection? Is that what it is?
It's the Carolina connection, baby. It's like Carolina, both from the Low Country. You know what I mean? Charleston, I was from Beaufort, so both from the Low Country. It's funny, man. When I was in college and med school, I used to listen to him on the radio all the time. Finally got a chance to meet him when we did the book. But it's about Shook One. It's about his journey through his anxiety journey and how it came to be, and those instances in his life where it showed up and what he did in those moments. And so as he's telling his stories, I contributed by adding a small clinical correlation at the end to say, hey, as a psychiatrist, these are some of the things I hear him talking about. These are some of the things we would look to help make that better. And I think it was very, very well received. Again, but it starts, right? So when I think about Charlamagne, I think about Shook Ones, it's the power of vulnerability. Hey, this is the thing, right? Black man talk about being nervous. What? About being anxious? What?
Right.
Hell, I'm anxious right now. I wake up with anxiety. I go to sleep with anxiety. And so when somebody like him can talk about it and make it okay, now that's something I can get behind. It's like, okay, right? It's not, now I know I'm not alone. It's not, right? Charlamagne is cool and successful and all, right? And hip and all these things. And he's got anxiety. Okay, now maybe I can admit to my stuff too, right? And so that's why things like that are so important. So I was very, very grateful that I was honored that he reached out to me to do it, and I was super pleased with how it came out. I was glad I was able to play my small little part there.
All right, we want to leave with two things.
Okay.
One, on your website, drishmajor.com, drishmajor.com, you got some tips for people to find love. 3 ways that anybody can find love. So would you please give us those tips, my brother?
So, let's have a real conversation before we get to the tips, George, because everybody ain't looking for love. Right? Everybody ain't looking for it.
Ooh.
Some folks are just looking for companionship. Some folks just looking for company. Right?
Some people are just looking for sex, as 50 said in his song.
Right? Some folks are just looking for a little physical need to get met. So let's start there, right?
Okay.
Be honest with yourself about what you want, right? Because you're allowed Doesn't make you a bad person to not want a relationship. Just makes you honest.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? What guys, we think that we gotta lie, we gotta trick them into it, right? We gotta finesse it. As we say, no, you don't, because for every guy who doesn't want a relationship, there's a woman who doesn't want the same thing, right? Because we're all human and we're all on this journey, and so your relationship life will get significantly easier the day you're able to stand on the thing you want and ask for that thing. Hey, you know what? I love you. I really don't. I think you're fantastic. And if I wanted a relationship and to progress like that, you would certainly be the perfect person I pick. But where I am right now, right? And Kevin Hart, how my bank account works right now, right? Where I am right now in life, that's probably not going to work for me. All I have the emotional bandwidth for is this: some companionship, maybe some physicality, but I probably don't have the emotional bandwidth to be there emotionally available for you like you want me to, right? So women are asking guys a question, like first date questions. What are some top questions? What I need to know about, right? I need to know, is he dating? Is he married? Is he single? No, you don't. No, you don't. Here's your question, ladies. Here's the question you're going to ask us. Are you emotionally available?
Number one.
Right? Are you emotionally available to me? That's because now that's going to inform how you spend the rest of that date, right? And ladies, now you got to ask yourself the question: if he was honest enough to give you a true answer, do you have the courage to accept it? Is that enough for you, right? If you ask this man, is he emotionally available? And he's like, yeah, about 75%. And you're like, okay, cool. Now, ladies, you got to ask yourself, why is that good enough for you? Are you settling for crumbs because you don't think you're worth the whole cake? Who taught you that? Why did you agree to believe them? Right? So we think the fix is out there, here and there, and around us somewhere. And the fix ain't out there. The fix is here, right? So when we can show up with enough personal integrity and authenticity to stand on the thing we really want. Hey, right? I'm really a no on this. This is not, I want this, not that. And when we can stand on that and know that either you can accept it or reject it, and I respect you either way, right? And now I'm free to go find that somewhere else, the thing I really want. When we can show up and do that, this whole relationship thing gets a lot less tricky. But we trick ourselves into being miserable because we think we got to morph into the thing that gets us the love that we need because that's what life taught us. But I'm telling you, you ain't got to morph into nothing.
Okay.
You just don't.
Be who you will be. Well, listen, Doc, if they want those tips, they got to go to drishmaker.com and
go to the website. Go to the site. Go to the
and
site.
Do all of that because
it's free. Just go to the website. You ain't got to pay for it.
Website. And listen, the next time we get together, my next question is going to be, how do you find, how do you call it? Mature love. That's what I want to talk about. Mature love in the 20s.
Silver Foxes, love over 50? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Thing?
Yes. Yeah. Because I keep getting, I was with a group of sisters and they were talking about, they weren't sisters, but they weren't all sisters, but they were women. And they were like, they wanted to date in this community. And they said that all of the men are married and they don't know where the single available guys are in our community. Now that might be true in our community, but that's another program, Doc. That's not this week.
Oh man, we got to come back and answer that because that's a great question. Because guess what?
What?
Half of the folks in this country are divorced, 50%, right?
Yes.
And so if you single but were married once, that means there's a dude out there who's now single who's married once. So that's garbage. They're not all taken. And you haven't looked everywhere. Where'd you look? Well, I went to church, and I went to the grocery store, and then dry cleaning. Well, that ain't everywhere, right? Okay. So tell yourself the truth about what you're doing. You just gotta, right? We just gotta start there. You know what I mean? And a little teaser for the next time. Change your love story. If your love story is all men are taken, then your brain is only going to show you men who are already taken. Woo. Because your brain wants you to be right. If your love story is all men are dogs, then your brain is going to help you attract all men who are woof, 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 barking down the street, right? But if your love story is, I am so lovable and adorable, every guy I meet can't get enough of me, right? Woo. the next 10 dudes you meet are not going to be able to get enough of you because they're going to think you're lovable and adorable. But it starts with the way we talk about ourselves, about the thing we want, right?
That's next time. We got to explore that. Because
you got me warmed up now. You got me going.
Listen, I'm thinking that's something that we should do like live and have. So we're gonna figure that out. We're gonna figure that out.
Questions, right? We should get some questions and some live feedback. That'd be great. We
gotta figure that out. All right, listen, drishmajor.com. He's my boy. I ain't mad at him that he plays Kappa, but that's okay. Because Omega Psi Phi till I die.
Now, George, somebody got the shimmy. Come on now. Somebody got the shimmy.
Let me see. You gonna give it to us?
Somebody got the shimmy, man. You know? Somebody gotta do a little something.
There we go. It's for your sword here first. Inspiration for the nation.